So how can Korea increase its birth rate? And of course, you can't force Korean women to have children. And there are a lot of incentives now. And I think the monthly stipend or direct benefit from having a child went up from I think it was 40만 원 to 80만 원, something like that. It was increased, and there was a tiny increase in the birth rate, but unfortunately the experience is that those kind of direct subsidies for women to have children haven't really worked very well anywhere in the world. So if we're serious about tackling this issue, I think what we have to do is, first of all, really try to understand the situation in Korea. There's a lot of interesting research. There are very brilliant Korean scholars who are working on this already. But we have to gather the data that we already have, and we have to especially do different kinds of research to get even more information. Interesting things are already happening. So in one survey, 26% of unmarried women respondents in Korea said that they would consider having a child without getting married. This means that as the number of unmarried women increases, the number of voluntary single mothers is also growing. And of course, an example is the celebrity Sayuri. So Sayuri had a child, and the sperm donor came from Japan. Sorry, is it okay to talk about sperm in 어쩌다 어른?
I'm okay. 뭐 의학적 용어니까요.
그렇죠.
Because we're 어른이니까. And so you might ask, why would the sperm donor come from Japan? Part of it is that Korea's laws are still very restrictive. If a woman wants to get a sperm donation, they have to have a husband. And it goes even further than that, either a husband or a common law partner. And the partner, the male partner, has to have some kind of disease or problem so that their sperm is not viable.
결격 사유가 있어야 되는구나.
But in most of the rest of the world, including Japan, it's much easier to get access to sperm donations. Well, Japan for 25 years has been working very hard on increasing their birth rate. So in Japan, one of the things they did to increase the birth rate was they made paternal and maternal leave much easier, right? They instituted lots more support for new mothers, right? And Prime Minister Kishida was the foreign minister when I was visiting Japan very frequently. And Prime Minister Kishida said, okay, we have done everything that you can possibly do. We now look like Norway or Sweden in terms of our social support. So please don't tell me to do more, because I don't know of anything more we could do. And in 2023, Japan's birth rate was almost double Korea's birth rate. Right?
Wow.
Now, China, their birth rate is still over 1, right? But remember the one-child policy? Now it's the 3-child policy, right? They're actively encouraging, but they've also looked very carefully at how to increase the birth rate. So what they've done is take on something called the hukou system, right? So in China, it used to be that if you were not legally married, it was almost impossible to register a child under the hukou system. And the hukou system is what gives you the right to have education, health care, and services, right? So now a woman, no matter how they have the child, through a surrogate, through adoption, no matter how they have the child, in most provinces, they can register the child, and the child will have access to education, health care, and everything. So, immediately they have done something that has led to many new stories about people. There's a very famous economist, a friend of mine, who had 3 children, one by adoption, one by surrogacy, one with a partner, right? And now the stories are everywhere. So everything's changed, right? This has been a very interesting development for China. So. We really have to develop a much deeper and broader knowledge of what's going on in Korea, but also all the innovations that are happening all over the world. And I think, first of all, we're going to need very strong leadership from government officials, but also the private sector. I don't know if it's exactly what should be done, something like it.